I'm doing a kind of a little video on this some fruits that I've been getting lately. It's kind of that time of year. One of them is jackfruit. So just to be a quick kind of intro to jackfruit, and then my latest family member. Come here, Chance. Come here. Here's Chance. He's the latest member of the pack here. Anyway, here's the jackfruit, and it's not a very large jackfruit. It's actually it looks to be a little bit overripe. That's why it's got a little bit of mold on it. But I washed it off, and when I get inside of this, probably what I'll find is it might be some like browning, like on the outskirts of the fruit segments. But when I get inside of it, I'll likely not see that. It'll likely be nice and ripe on the inside, so it doesn't all necessarily ripen evenly, uniformly. But when I purchased this yesterday, I actually got it at Whole Foods, and this is like the ripest jackfruit I've ever, seemingly the ripest jackfruit I've ever purchased from Whole Foods. It could be that this thing has been maybe a little bit cooked in the transit to the grocery store. I'll find out. But because of the speed at which it seemed to have ripened overnight next to a banana and a mango and some other fruit I had with it, my suspicion is that it was not so much force ripe as it was probably harvested relatively ripe for commercial jackfruit here in the United States. I have not had a really good jackfruit in the United States, and it's oddly enough it's gained in popularity. I think there are more distinctive fruits out there, like some varieties of durian that are not as malodorous. That when they're ripe, they actually smell nice and they actually taste very good too. This one, it's kind of similar to durian. I think it's somewhat related. Yeah, it is. It is not too distant of a relative to durian, as well as actually it's kind of a relative of figs. Figs aren't far off from it, oddly enough. But anyway, what I'm going to do is slice into it since it does seem to be relatively ripe. And again, I haven't had a really good one in the United States yet, but there's a fair chance that this will be one of the best ones I've had in the United States. Just looking at it, at least parts of it. But it may not have ripened evenly. That's okay. It's soft, of course, and when it does start to get ripe, it won't be as hard on the outside, and it'll have some give to it. If you try to cut into it when it's ripe, you're going to get like sap-like substance all over the knife, and it will be difficult to get out. It gets really sticky, like glue. And I have one of these jackfruit trees at my brother's house, at Michael's house in Tweed Heads, Australia. I purchased the tree from Tropical Fruit World about, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years ago. And when I purchased it, I put it in the ground, of course, and 2 or 3 years later, I received my first. It was already a couple, maybe 2, 3 years old when I got it in the pot. But it might have been closer to 3 or 4 years later. But several years later, when I got the first fruit from it, it paid for the actual tree when I got the first fruit. It was the best jackfruit that I'd ever had in my life, easily. And usually your first harvest isn't necessarily going to be your best one. It typically isn't. Typically, maybe your second one, your third harvest you might start to get some good tasting fruit. But anyway, it just so happens when I went back and I talked to one of the employees at Tropical Fruit World, they informed me several years after that point that they had some strains that escaped cultivation. They sold them in their market at Tropical Fruit World. Apparently, they were trying to hybridize the tastiest, the most delicious strain of jackfruit, and the seedlings that they were using were accidentally sold in their market. And that was the same year that I had purchased it. So it quite may very well be that I've got a pretty good product that people have been working hard to hybridize on that. And it is the best tasting jackfruit. I've had others since then from that tree, and hands down, the best jackfruit I've ever had. So it's in my brother's yard back there. He doesn't even really check on it. So for a while, there was some ringtail possums eating it up even before it got ripe. But then those kind of got flushed out with development there in Tweed Heads. And now I think the fruit's probably just rotting on the tree there. But anyway, it's not. I don't expect it to be like that. But what I've got here is a lot of fruit, so I better start digging into it now. I'm going to cut into it and just see what I've got here. And I'm really just going to start at this point, normally I would start at the bottom, which actually I am going to try to start on the bottom, but lean towards the side where it seems like it's got the skin's kind of peeling off a little bit. It might have been sitting on its side and a little bit bruised there. But anyway, I'm just going to cut into it random, and there's no special technique that I'm showing you here except just introducing you to jackfruit and seeing what's in there. And probably I'm just going to hopefully provide some information about what you might expect in a ripe jackfruit. That much I can talk about. This skin is coming off easily, so at least portions of it are definitely going to be overripe, but it's may still be better than the underripe jackfruit that I'm accustomed to getting. And again, I'm not doing this in any specific particular technique that I would recommend necessarily. I'm just kind of showing this fruit and just kind of talking about it while I had it. A lot of people, it smells like banana bubblegum, so I can talk about the ripeness of it, the flavor, maybe banana. Even a little bit of a durian flavor to it for sure, but you don't have the odor. But it smells like banana bubble gum when you open it up. Some people just chewing gum straight, but yeah, this is pretty ripe for what I found in American grocery stores. And I know that places like Miami Fruit they've been harvesting theirs, and they probably get pretty good stuff there. I haven't tried the jackfruit from them yet, but this is good stuff. If you're limiting yourself to commercial fruit, and I did get this commercially from Whole Foods, you probably haven't had one of these before. Not of this quality. And this is not as much flavor as what I've had in the best tasting jackfruit that I've ever had, but pretty good. I mean, you can eat it straight. Nothing wrong with this. I mean, this will make a meal for you right there. And you can see the rich yellow color to it. I don't even see the browning on it. And it's not too sticky. But, yeah, not bad. So, no regrets. I think I got it for like $2.50 a pound or $2.49 a pound. And most of that's edible. So, the seeds, the skin, that'll all go in this bag. This bag here, which will go in the backyard. But anyway, that's jackfruit. I've got some eating to do, some catching up to do with my meal today. Tune in if you have any tips about how to slice into a jackfruit the right way, or any comments, suggestions, questions. Feel free to leave them. And I just leave you with this kind of thought as I wind down here, and that is to include variety in the diet. And with this, for instance, rich source of potassium comparable to bananas, almost up there with bananas. Decent amount of fiber in these. Good load of vitamin C in that. I had some articles I did pull up on that too. I'm looking at an article by Goswami and Chakravarti, and I'm probably butchering the name, but in 2016, this article is entitled "Jackfruit" or "Learn More About Jackfruit." Artocarpus heterophyllus, the scientific name of it. That's just the name of the article here. And as I go through it, I'm seeing, they're playing up the vitamin C as an antioxidant that protects against free radicals and strengthens the immune system, of course. But they also specify that it keeps gums healthy. And that's something I don't think is talked about often enough. And, I noticed that before I really loaded up on my fruit intake, that I would get some bleeding gums from time to time, and they would swell just a little bit. So I don't get those at all. And this is going back before I went to vegan or plant-based in my diet 11 years ago. Right up until that point, for several years, I'd noticed a little bit of swelling in the gums. I was doing a high-protein diet. I wasn't big on fruit at all or juices. I was doing like protein shakes. I can't believe I was doing it, actually. I was doing loads of dairy, kind of a high-fat diet. I can't believe I did it. But anyway, once I went, it started smashing the juice and fruit, and it's just got rid of the dairy and the fibrous foods. Then I noticed the gums, I don't have the inflammation that it did. So some people will say, oh, no, I don't have scurvy now, and I've been doing this diet devoid of fruit or plants in general, and I would just caution them. I can tell you from experience, just from the gums, it's just my my self-report, of course. So take it for what's worth, but it does correlate with the research, and that's what I try to do in my diet. Try to make changes that correlate with the research. So you may not notice bleeding gums right away, but there may be kind of some weakening going on that you just don't notice. I just happen to notice in my case. So there's also mention of other phytonutrients in it: anti-hypertensive, anti-ulcer, and anti-aging properties, anti-cancer phytonutrients in the jackfruit. Looking at other articles about it, you know, there's of course, the potassium, vitamin C, pretty good on the B vitamins compared to most fruit as well. And then just there's a list of antioxidants. Just I'm not going to go through that. And just some other things. It is supposed to be good for healing wounds, boils, fevers, skin diseases, convulsions. I did notice that my skin also cleared up when not just incorporating jackfruit in my diet, but fruit in general. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Keep it kind of short. Thanks for tuning in.